swing has four what I call rules or common denominators or fundamentals. Four things that if you gave yourself 25 points for each one of these things, you could score 100 with your swing. You don't have to score 100 to have a sound swing, but if you had an 80 out of these four fundamentals, you'd have a sound swing. Let's talk about these four common denominators. The first one is what I call an axis or a center. The golf swing is an ellipse, so the center might be an inch or two or three in what we call the center. But it's a spot that's somewhat located between the front, the back, and both sides. And it is the center of the swing, not the head, the center of the trunk. When a person swings the golf club, he tries to make the swing and use the area in which he is using at address. So that when he addresses the golf ball and stands in a certain amount of space, let's call it this amount of space right here, his swing stays in that amount of space when he takes the club back on the backswing. In doing that, you'll see Gene demonstrate that so excellently. Do that again, Gene. You'll see that his shoulders are in this area right here, and when he turns, they'll stay in that area. That's called rotating around a center. The more you stay around that center, the less chance for a mistake, the more chance for repeating the swing, and the more power you can get. And the more apt you can come back to the ball exactly where you started. It's a necessary ingredient and a strong fundamental of a good swing. The next fundamental is what I call the radius, an extension of the radius. The radius of the golf swing goes anywhere from the left shoulder to the left hand. That's your radius. Now, this radius should be extended in the swing. What do I mean by extended? What I mean by extended is that the left arm, hand, and shoulder, this whole unit, if it starts 6 inches, let's say, hypothetically, from the body here, as it goes by the right leg, it shouldn't get closer than 6 inches. It should stay at least 6 inches, or if anything, increase to more than 6 inches in this area. This puts the club on a wide arc and gives you an extension of the radius in the backswing and borrows time for you to get coiled or turned. It's very important to have this extension of the radius. Failure to do so throws off the whole golf swing. If you have a center and you have a radius, just like any clock, that hand swings around that clock and hits a golf ball on each number on that clock, because there's a center there and there's a radius there. Unless you bust the front of that clock, which would be glass, and pull the arm out of the clock and alter its plane of swing, it'll make contact every time because it's got a center and a radius. Let's talk about that plane of the swing now. The plane of the swing is an imaginary line that goes from the ball up through the shoulder, and it extends upward. If he's in plane, when he makes his turn and takes the club back, his hands are going to be on that imaginary line. This would be not on that line. He's too steep, too high. And this would be too low, too far below. Either one of those positions won't allow him to get back to the ball and hit it towards where he's trying to go. The fourth and final fundamental is what we call coil. More upper body turn than lower body turn. The shoulders starting first, the upper body coiling first, results in the upper body turning more than the lower body. You'll see in this swing he's turned much more here than he has here. This winds up all these back muscles here, of which he had plenty. The left side right here, this is called the latissimus dorsi muscle. And it's the stretch on this muscle which attaches to the pelvic girdle of the hips, which enables all this down here to move to start the forward swing and delay that right side. You see, when he turned to the right, he loaded or stretched the left side of his back. And that's why the forward swing is a left-sided motion. The right side wasn't stretched. The left side was. Now, if a person tries to coil and thinks about it, what happens is a lot of times he gets too much turn, too much coil, and gets around too far and actually loses the separation between his upper body and his lower body. And what he's done right there is what I call overturn. Or he can sway to the right, trying to overturn. Or he can sway to the left, trying to overturn, because he doesn't have the wherewithal to make the motion he's conceiving of. We will tell you how to accomplish these four fundamentals so that you don't have to work on any of them, because working on any of them is what I call in-swing thinking. And when you think in the swing, you're going to create a mess. You're going to exaggerate it, and it only will work for a week or two or a half an hour or 3 or 4 holes until you overdo it and exaggerate it. Because these four fundamentals have to be compatible and they have to be in balance with one another. And an individual work on each one of them will exaggerate them, and you'll be the worse for it. So what we're going to do next is teach you how to make these four fundamentals through properly starting your golf swing with the turn of the left shoulder.